Today, we are joined by Elijah, the founder of Effigy Breathwork, a trauma release modality developed over 3 decades of guiding tens of thousands through the shadows of pain into the light of purpose. He's the author of The Trauma Code, Unlocking Your Hidden Map to Your Life's True Purpose. Drawing from sacred Taoist energy practices and his years of studying with spiritual teachers, Elijah bridges ancient wisdom with modern healing. In this episode, we'll dive into the root of trauma, the difference between breathwork and psychedelics, and how our disconnection from purpose can be the very signal that's leading us home. Elijah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I want to start with that last sentence. How can our disconnection from purpose be what's the very signal that's leading us home?
I'm so glad you lead with that because I feel like that's the only part that matters. I think the problem is the solution. The very things that we think are the things we're trying to get rid of, or even that are happening in our life, are, if the universe is always helping us, then everything is on its path back to our wholeness. So some of this comes out of my experience with myself and others, but let's just say for most of us, like if you had a relationship breakup and like you look back and you go, oh, I learned all these things from it. All the most dramatic and traumatic things that have happened to us do teach us something if we let ourselves. So I would just say that if we're here to fulfill our life purpose and we're born with a set of opportunities to do that, our life experiences, which are our traumas, our unresolved things, in some ways are actually helping us to get there. So it's not, I say it's not necessarily garbage to be gotten rid of, but it's compost to grow your garden.
So when you're working with someone and you're looking at their trauma to try and find their life purpose, how do you connect those dots?
Well, I would start with when somebody enters in my world, whether now or 35 years ago, because I'm not necessarily doing the same thing I was doing, but at the end of the day, the one thing I am doing is why would somebody seek me out or seek anybody out for help? It's because they're suffering in some way and they're disconnected from something, whether it's just an inner state of peace or they're dealing with something that they can't make resolution with. My job is to help them to heal that suffering. But I'll just tangent slightly to say if there's two kinds of suffering. There's suffering means to carry to bear. So everybody has to carry to bear something. If you lose someone you love, you're going to suffer. But the unnecessary suffering is this kind of ongoing repetitious suffering that has to do with our disconnection from the understanding that we need these experiences to help us. So when we go into resistance to those things, we cause this unnecessary suffering. So if somebody comes to me with that suffering, I want to help them to come back to the truth of who they are and the value of the problem so that they can have a better life. But part two would be is that if all of us have a unique design or signature or a life purpose that we're meant to live, then our ultimate feeling, a sense of meaning, is to do what we're here to do. And I don't necessarily mean to be, rich and famous or be a king or something. It's not. I'm not talking about a job or a livelihood. I'm talking about a state of consciousness where you feel like I am the person I'm meant to be out in the world. So the life purpose part is something we need to understand is there, but the work, there's the clearing of the trauma, and then there's the work of living and actualizing your life purpose. I see those actually as two steps, very different steps, because with the breath work I do and working with people, getting people back to a better place actually is not, at least in my world, it's not that hard. But if I have a relationship with someone over time, or just talk about my own life, like living my life, that's just, just because you are more evolved or you're without trauma doesn't mean that your life is all of a sudden going to work itself out. You still have to go and figure out how to live it, and that involves a lot of other steps. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Why'd you laugh?
because it's true. It's like
Yeah.
you can't just be on a mountaintop meditating all day.
And how boring would that be?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how can breath work help one to heal, like to tap into feelings or to tap into the unknown? Let's start with the unknown feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first I would just say, your breath is the most important thing you have to live. It's more important than supplements you're going to buy at Whole Foods or something. It's rather more important than any technique. Like, you need breath to live. So the power that the universe has to give you life is in every single breath, all day, every day. So if we could cultivate or harness that power, that's incredible. And uh, all the breath work is really just the conscious use of your lungs, because all the organ systems, they're unconscious, like an animal. You can't control them. You can't make your liver do something, but the lungs are like a car that can be operated automatic or manual. So the manual use of your lungs, like, I can take a breath, and that is like a metaphor for choice, I guess, that you have an inner world and an outer world. You have an unconscious and a conscious. You have life and death all inside the breath. As animals, we just breathe and we don't think about it, and we still stay alive. But as humans, we can choose our life, our destiny. We have the opportunity to fulfill life purpose. That's in your breath. So breath work is so generic, really. It means breath and work. It's the conscious use of breath. And if you take inhale, exhale, nose and mouth, left side and right side, holding your breath, you have all the breath work techniques that have existed for the last 5,000 years. So they all have some power to make you more conscious, give you energy, ground you, whatever. But my particular technique, which I'll say, I didn't invent breath work. Surprisingly, I'd like to. Wouldn't it be great if I could just copyright every time someone breathed? I would get like 2 cents or something. How many streams would I need to become a millionaire? Anyway, mine comes from a sort of a family of mouth breathing techniques that's 5,000 years old from India, which is that you breathe really fully through the mouth in the chest. And it's basically a conscious hyperventilation. And in my technique, you lay on your back and you do this really strong breathing for an hour without stopping. So within a few, do you want to do 10 breaths with me? Just so you,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
And because of the echo cancellation, they may not hear us breathing. But so we'll just do 10 breaths. That's all we're going to do. And you will breathe in the center of the chest, the heart center.
But not all the way down to the stomach.
Not at all. You want to
Oh,
just fill up on the inhale here, like you're surprised, and then
okay.
open your mouth really wide, and then just let the breath gush out, and we'll do it together. Are
Okay,
you?
perfect.
I'm going to turn off my echo cancellation so people can. Won't let me. Okay, ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Now let it go. Just close your eyes for a minute so that you don't have to. So you should be feeling a certain amount of flow of energy through your body, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So in Effigy, you'll do that. You're laying on your back. It's safe, but you're doing it for an hour without stopping. So the first few minutes, like what you're feeling is like the beginning of it. And you enter this alternate state, which is really your unconscious. And the unconscious just means, the word means without awareness. So you're entering into the world of the unknown world inside yourself. And all these patterns and programs that are a result of trauma, they will arise. And in that arising, and you breathe, you release them, and you feel extraordinary after, and more reconnected to who you really are before trauma. And that's sort of the basis of the technique.
So simply breathing like that can help release old patterning.
With a guide, let me just be clear, like,
Okay.
please don't do this on your own, because I mean, a lot of stuff will come up. And also the guide's job is to recognize, because you can't I mean, sometimes people are crying or screaming or moving around, or they're getting physical sensations, but a lot of it is invisible inside them. So the guide's job is to try to keep you moving through it, to have the maximum amount of release. Um, so yes, you do that, and then you a lot of energy is released every time you do it. I mean, I just can't even believe I'm doing a lot of podcasts talking about this. It's 35 years later. I did not expect myself to be talking about this. I was a musician, trying to, like, I was other things. But here I am. And, and I'm here because it's so simple, and it works. Like, if you breathe like this, you just did 10 breaths. If you can imagine doing it for an hour, but it's sort of endless. But initially you go through a period where you're releasing trauma. And maybe I should just define trauma, so you know what I mean by this. You're born with a life purpose, a design that wants to fulfill itself. There's a trajectory for that. Then something happens in your life that you can't process. To me, that's what trauma is. Like, anything. It doesn't even have to be big, and it also doesn't even have to be something you remember. Maybe you were left in your crib for 5 more minutes than you thought, and you thought you were going to die or something. So anything that's not processed remains inside as an energy, some aspect of your own self unmoving, and that waits for resolution. So then you go through your life, the trajectory of your life purpose has changed because part of your life force has been locked up. And then there's this repetition of that same thing over and over again because the soul's trying to resolve it. So this is where, taking this back to the beginning, the problem being the solution is that, well, why does this happen to us? But if this happens because in order to fulfill your life purpose, you need to learn something. You need to come back to some essential truth about life. Trauma has provided the opportunity for that learning. And the problem, if you don't release the trauma, is that you just live unconsciously in the adverse effects of it. Whereas when you can release it, and we can do that through breath work, you're no longer, you still have the train tracks of trauma inside you. Like, I'm still as insecure, sensitive, all the things I was before. But now these are more like energy opportunities in me to keep learning, rather than like things that are constantly putting my life in limitation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So I have seen videos of people getting, like, having real visceral reactions to breath
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Bodies are shaking, and
Yeah.
it looks like there's some kind of an
Looks like a trick
exorcism.
or something.
Yeah, like an exorcism
It's
of
like when you
sorts.
watch martial artists and they touch somebody and they fly across the room, you go, that can't be real. People are just being dramatic. But I can say I've breathed, tens of thousands of people. It's unbelievable what comes up, and particularly in groups, because you can't really escape touching yourself when there's all the energy of everybody doing it together. So there's a lot more of that drama in groups. But people have, I would say also, and even in my own experience, like past life stuff, like, it's not even, first of all, it's not just memory that you remember, but it can be, but it's like, it can be very primitive and primal what people go through. But also just think of all the abuse and, like, that we've had over lifetimes that's stored in our consciousness unresolved. It all comes out.
So fascinating. Um, so should this be a daily practice?
Um, I think it's a hypothetical question. If I'm, it's what depends on what somebody wants. My main thing I would say to anybody, if somehow they get in contact with me, is that do as much as you're willing to handle the consequences, the sea change that will arise from this. Like, if your life is super stable based on a lot of wrong things, maybe you're married, you have a lot of money but you're in the wrong life. Breathwork will turn your life upside down. So if somebody's really, really suffering deeply, the breathwork will help them a lot. But it kind of depends. And people, particularly when they're younger, think, "Oh, I'll just do more of this." But more of this is it. You have to be willing to, like. I'm 61 now, so there's a part of me that, like, I'm in the joy of letting go of things. I'm not really afraid of the consequences. I'm more afraid of the consequences of being in control. So, um, but when a person first starts on the path, and most people are, beginning, and they're trying to heal suffering and release trauma, like, you have, at least in my world, I want people to do it in a way that doesn't collapse their life, because then you have all the secondary problems of in the external world that you're combating while you're going through all this internal change. So, but yes, you absolutely can do it every day. And in my year-long program, which I'm in the middle of right now with people, we did a 5-day retreat. It started with a 5-day retreat, and we breathed twice a day for 5 days. So, but then people went back to their lives and had to deal with the consequences of it. But they're in a year-long program, so I'm there to make sure that it's stable. So I would just say, if somebody hasn't done breathwork, just do it once and then ask yourself, what do I want? The biggest question everyone should ask for healing and undoing trauma, because we're all on the same path, we're all doing it, I'm still doing it, is, how much time and energy how urgent do you want to dedicate to this process? And I think it's kind of different for everybody. And yeah.
That's so that's fascinating, because I have so many thoughts about this.
Tell me your thoughts on why is it fascinating?
Because something so simple can have such transformation.
Yeah.
And I want to ask one question before I get into the thoughts that I'm having, because I want to connect
Okay.
it to this psychedelics and why it's different and how it works. And but for people who feel like they're so in their trauma and that they are completely trapped by it,
Which is a lot of people.
yeah, how, and they feel terrified to even confront it. Is this a way? Is this like a shock to that trauma and to that person, or is this something that can be gentle and like start to open them up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that, well, I do want to know what you thought was fascinating, but because I think it's tied to what you just said. But let me just say, I've been doing this 35 years, but when someone works with me, but in my business, I have a business partner, but, like, I'm the inner door. People don't just come in and start to work with me, because it took me a while to realize, maybe even 10 years ago, but now especially, like, I'm very good with beginners to talk about the process. But when somebody's ready to do the process with someone like me, they have to be ready to take responsibility for the fact that everything that arises out of the process we're doing together is in them. It has nothing to do with me, except for the fact that I'm creating the opportunity for that to come out. So, in the idea of safety, like, to me, I would say at the heart of my own personal life, my heart of my own journey, is that all of our trauma comes out of relationship in some way, broken hearts of some sort. And that there are many, many breathwork techniques similar to mine that don't place as much emphasis on the relationship between the facilitator and the breather. But I place so much in that because that human engine and that connection that we have is really part of the healing. And so I train facilitators. So if someone may do much better with a beginner or somebody who doesn't have much experience with me, because they will know how to nurture the situation in a way that I may have even forgotten or not known. I know so much about the process, but in some ways I'm not sure if I'm as good of a healer as I am as a teacher, because if somebody comes to me, I'm assuming they want to be in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
So we're on a podcast talking to people that are in all kinds of states in what they're doing. But if you're at the beginning of the path, I would say two things. One is, remember, you're responsible for all of it, no matter what. I mean, there's a million Netflix documentaries about gurus abusing power and stuff like that, but they don't make any documentaries about crappy students. So I would just say, like, you have to understand that you assign some authority and influence to the person that's helping you, but at the end of the day, you're responsible. And there's this beautiful, delicate, intimate relationship that you're having. So pick your guide and really try to ask the right questions for how you can go through it according to the way that your life is. So that's a long answer to a short question, but I feel like you're speaking to the most important thing, which is, like, if we're all trying to heal, like, what's the safe way to do this when we're talking about the most perilous, frightening, terrorizing thing that's caused our whole life to be in limitation, for better or worse, but makes us afraid and risk averse. This doesn't just, it's not unicorns and rainbows, as my partner would say. So we want, I want people to know that before they start, so they don't live in some romantic ideal of it. Yeah. Is that useful, what I'm
Very
saying?
useful.
Okay.
Very useful. Um, so when I just did those 10 breaths that with
Yeah.
you and I closed my eyes, I could feel like energy moving in my body. Uh,
Yeah.
there was definitely sensation happening.
Like, and a dissolving too, right? Like
Yeah,
almost
it
like
was.
you're, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person though that I mean, I wasn't like this in the beginning, but I am now. I'm like, okay, let's rip the band-aid off. Let's just go
Yeah.
dive right in. Like I'm like, oh, I want to try this. I'm like, I'm
Well,
so
you're my kind of people. Like, that's why, you're somebody I'd want to work with, because
yeah.
that's the person I want, the one who's not afraid to rip the Band-Aid off. And then when they are afraid to rip the Band-Aid off, then we really have something interesting. Go on.
So yes, I had this sensation,
Mhm.
and I I think I've read about it or someone's told me about it that you can start to hallucinate during breath work. Is
Um,
that possible?
Define hallucinate.
Not at least like you can start to see visuals. Like
Absolutely. Everybody has the experience in a different way. And also, I've had some really practical people. One of my favorites, she's been with me a long time, but she was the head pediatric nurse at the Children's Hospital in Miami. Just a super practical person. And, running this thing. And, like, she's like, and she's from Miami. So she's like, everybody in Miami was just woo, having every experience. She's like, why don't I have those experiences? So I don't think it's necessary, but some people have very visual things. Everybody in the beginning has a lot of physical sensations, because memory is in the cells of the body. When you put breath into the body, it's a guarantee there's going to be a lot of physical sensations. Some people it's emotional. Some people it's kind of visionary like. That's what it was for me. Like, I always would, like, the download would come. I would hear things. I'm also a musician, so it would be a kind of hearing. So everybody's experience is different, but it's not necessarily. It's kind of like taking psychedelics. Like, it's good to try it to realize there are all these alternate realities. But if you get addicted to doing that, then you're just getting high. So it's the same with the breath work. The part of it that's sort of like seeing things and visualizing. I mean, I've had past life memories, all kinds of things. I mean, and also witnessing other people, but it's not important, because what's important is that it helps your life. So, yeah. It's like that
So,
old Zen saying, like the guy goes to the master and he says, I was meditating and Buddha came and Jesus came and da, 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 and they told me all these things, and the master said, okay, keep meditating. Don't climb the signpost, is what they say. Yeah,
so you brought up psychedelics, and I also want to talk about that because
yeah. A favorite topic of the times we're in, right?
it is a favorite topic. I have done plant medicine,
Uh huh.
um, and it was profound for me doing
Yeah,
it. Um, so, how do breath work and them work together or work separately? Because some people don't want to do plant medicine or psychedelics, but they want to have that, um, that drop in, that kind of profound, extended healing that happens in a very short period of time. Can you
yeah.
get that with breath work?
Yes, of course. So, first of all, um, either is a boat you get in to go across the river. It's just a vehicle. But there's a big difference. And the big difference is that you take plant medicine, you are, which they call the teacher, you are taking something, an external substance that is taking you on a journey. And it, so many people who've done plant medicine have said this is the exact same experience without the plant medicine. So I'm not to say I'm not, and when I say both are vehicles, I'm not judging plant medicine, but I am just giving the data points. Is that if you breath work is empowering because you have to breathe in order for the transformation to take place, and that's the part of the breath work that's hard, is that as soon as things come up, every part of your mind is going to be saying, I don't want to do this. So if you breathe into it, like you want to rip the Band-Aid off, but I don't know how you're going to feel 15 minutes from now in the breath work, right? And if you keep breathing, then that will be so powerful and empowering because you're the one who raised your consciousness. Whereas if you go on the plant medicine journey, it takes you on the journey, it shows you something, but you didn't inherently do it. And some part of you knows that. And secondly, I just my opinion that you evolve inside of any practice, whether it's plant medicine or it's meditation, or according to where your consciousness is at. So a lot of people who haven't done a lot of personal development work, who end up in plant medicine, end up going through these journeys that they have not integrated or processed, either because of the teacher or because of where they're at. And then certainly when they come and do breath work, it's all stuck in their body. I can smell it. I can see it coming out while they're breathing, because you're only going to process it according to what your being, your consciousness is capable of processing at the time of where your awareness is. So I feel like the law of diminishing returns with all drugs or all external things, and I've done psychedelics, is just to say that they're unbelievable for what they show you about existence. But the more you do them, the less empowering it does become, more attached you get. A lot of people in plant medicine communities are very religious about what they're doing. And I feel like that to me is a red flag, because we don't want to live. I like breathwork because I want liberation and agency and autonomy. I don't even want people to feel attached to me or to breathwork. The breathwork's working if you gain your own authority back. But if you start saying, this is now my religion, this is my thing, then you're just getting trapped in another matrix. So that's my controversial opinion for the day.
I like it.
And I've been around a lot of people doing plant medicine because, I'd say from about 2006 16 or 17, that's become, I mean, Wim Hof and ayahuasca were not really in the matrix before 2016. And then all of a sudden, people doing all this. And I think it's a sign that culture is that people are more interested because there's more urgency. So they're more willing to go into some of these more profound type practices like breath work and psychedelics because they're just not going to go to their doctor and take some meds. I mean, people do that too, but there's a lot of change going on.
Yeah. So you also mentioned like the unsettling of one's external environment.
Yeah.
So I know from my personal experience when I did ayahuasca, my intention was whatever must come, and whatever must go, must go. And oh
Yeah.
boy, did I have a going of experience. It was people were taken out of my life in the most obscure and bizarre way. And
What year was it?
I did it. I did it last year, actually.
Last year. So this past year, you have this kind of cleansed look about you. Even I felt it the other day, like you're a little bit in some newborn world of yourself.
I am clear. I clear out all the time. I'm
Mm,
constantly clearing myself out.
mm, yeah.
Like energy work, all this. It's a constant thing for me. So yeah, so I did that, and I was like, really, and it happened. But how, like, that was my intention to do that.
Mm,
But when you're working with breath work, and you said it can completely unsettle your life,
yeah.
how do you mitigate the extremities of that, like the extreme version of that, like your whole life falling apart? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Great question. Well, let me be clear. Like, uh, I, it's hard to answer this question without speaking about somebody coming in contact with me. So I'll
yeah,
speak generally first. The person who's the student or the seeker or the one seeking healing, pick your guides carefully. Also have a guide because I mean, I say it's a three-legged stool: a practice, a guide, and life. Like you have to do your practice because that's your daily teacher. You have to have your teacher that gives you correction and feedback and helps you. And then you have to have life where you go out and you see if you can apply that. And the guide in Western culture, we struggle a lot because we think of it as some sort of a seating authority, etc. But like, if you're doing this without a guide, in my opinion, you're not really doing the work. Just my opinion. I still have teacher, and
yeah,
more than one teacher, because you need to check your blind spot, your ego, and that's never ending. So a lot of people, okay, I'm going to study something on YouTube, or I'm going to go just do a technique or do a workshop. To me, if you're really serious about healing yourself, you need a relationship with somebody that can take you on that journey. Not necessarily easy to find. So I think that's the general answer is it's not the teacher's fault if your life becomes chaotic, but a good Rumi said the 2-day journey takes 2,000 years without a guide. So I feel like that's that loving relationship between you and someone helping you is the most important. Now I'll speak for myself. I think I was always the person I am now, just in process of getting there, but I'm I'm very my personality is gentle and sweet. I'm a water rabbit in Chinese, and every book says I should live in a monastery. So I'm a gentle person. I was middle class Jewish Canadian kid, but I'm very fierce in my work and very disruptive in human design. I'm an ego manifester, so I'm very solitary. All produced internally. I don't need feedback from the world around me. And so if somebody comes in contact with me and they don't want to change, I'm a nightmare to be around. It's not even what comes out of my mouth. It's that I just will inherently push push buttons. So when I'm with somebody who wants to do the work with somebody like me, it's usually very harmonious and loving, but like I want to prevent people from getting in relationship with me until they would benefit from that. So I think there's so many different kinds of teachers. I'm not saying I'm the best teacher for anybody, really. It's just that if you ask the question, like, how could I separate that from my own perspective? And also, I've been doing it so long that I've had all these iterations of being, I owned a healing center in San Francisco. So then I did classes, and anybody could walk into those classes. I've done almost 20,000 private sessions with people, just of both breath work but I don't really do any of that anymore because I don't want to.
That's okay. So,
Grandpa needs his free time.
yeah. Is there anything that you have on your heart that you want to share, or that I haven't asked you and you'd want to talk about?
Wow, thank you. That's beautiful. Well, what I had been saying this past 6 or 8 months publicly, like an ownership. In 2001, I got initiated as a Sufi, in a Sufi lineage. And Sufism is the path of the heart. The poet Rumi is the most famous Sufi, although different lineage. I come from a lineage of healers and musicians. But it's really about the healing of the heart. And it's interesting because my breath works in the center of the heart. And last year, through a series of beautiful letting goes, like what you were describing, I ended up sort of being more involved with the Sufis, and I ended up getting initiated as a teacher. And it was the first time in my whole life I've ever been, acknowledged in something outside of myself. And I think that it speaks to something that I wanted, that at the heart of my own journey and my journey with helping other people is the heart. Like, beyond any technique or anything that I know is my heart. And I feel like in the times that we're in, we need each other. We need that heart connection and to connect more, because to me, that's the biggest healing. And that doesn't require any technique. So that's what I would say. The heart is at the center of everything, at least for me.
That's beautiful. Well, Elijah, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you. Fun.